welcome to Thursday afternoon coding with Ryan. You may be watching this video later, but that's okay. Hopefully you'll get the same learning experience as those that join in live. Today, in honor of the Indianapolis 500, and which we're located close to Indy, the Indy 500 is going to be on Sunday, May 30th. We're going to make a racing game today and then make a more advanced racing game next weekend with Microsoft, or next week with Microsoft MakeCode. So in honor of the Indy 500, we are going to create a racing game today. So if you want to go ahead and comment on the chat, comment in the chat, what is your favorite racing game that you play now? Maybe you have a game that you enjoy playing. Maybe you've played some games in the past, but maybe you're on something else now. But what racing game have you played that you like? And one that I'm playing currently with my kids, and I haven't, it's not really, I guess, a racing game, but it does have vehicles. And I'm playing Rocket League a lot with my kids now, just trying to learn more about that game. And I've been enjoying it because we play in the same room here together, and we're able to talk with each other and kind of coordinate our actions sometimes. But it's just fun playing that. And then previously would have been Mario Kart 8. Kids have a tough time beating Dad in Mario Kart 8. Kind of grew up with the Nintendo 64 and those games, and so yeah, you don't want to mess with Dad on Mario Kart 8. So if you have any of your favorite games, leave those in the comment. Maybe we'll talk about those a little bit as we move along. But we're going to jump right into the coding now. So if you would bring up a browser window and go to MakeCode.com, or just search for MakeCode in Google. Should be the first link that you have there. Pull mine up. And then we should be at the top of this. Now remember, MakeCode is just like Scratch in that we're using visual blocks. We're not typing out the commands that we're giving to the computer. We're actually dragging over blocks of code. And we're going to use the arcade version of MakeCode. Okay, so once you get onto this screen, you should see all the ones that you've been working on if you've been following along with these live streams, or if you want to go back and check some of the other videos. We've made a game each week with Microsoft MakeCode each week in May. You can go back and check those videos out on our YouTube channel, or you can check those out on Facebook with TechWise Academy. So just create a new project. And I'm going to call this 2D Racer. So we're going to create a two-dimensional racer in Microsoft MakeCode. All right, so this is going to come up, and just like we do on all of our MakeCode projects, we have this blank screen, and we have the on-start event listener listening for our game to start in order to start running some code on this screen. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set the background color. So we go to the scene blocks, and then there's one that says set background color to, not image, but color. Drag it inside of the on start, and then choose a color for that. I'm going to choose a light blue because you'll see why in a moment, but it's going to sort of be the background in our game, and kind of want a blue sky setting in the background. You can change that to whatever you want it to be for yours. Okay, we've changed the color of the background, and now we're going to set what's called a tile map. Now this is different than anything you may have seen in Scratch before, but a tile map is basically going to let us create some graphics that show up in our game that are going to be repeated and kind of mapped across the entire game. And I'll show you what we're talking about when we set that up. So go to Scene, and it should be down here, Set Tile Map to, and it has this gray box on it. So I'm going to bring that underneath the set background color. So tile map is basically where we get to set some of the background that shows up in our game, some of the background graphics that show up in our game. So I'm going to click on this gray square. So right now, our tile map as just this giant square. And it's just like what we would see if we were going to create some pixel art, if we're going to create a character or anything like that. But I want to change the dimensions for my tile map. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, you should see something that says 16 and 16. That is telling us that our image as it sets is 16 by 16 pixels. And we want to change that so we can make it, we want our game to be scrolling wide and fairly short up and down. So we're going to create something that is much wider. We're going to set it to 100 by 8. So really, really wide. And I'm sorry, apologize. I'm looking around the light to get to that by 8. And your pixel map should go ahead and change and look something like this. Very wide. It's not that it's a whole lot shorter than it was before. It's just relative to the width, it's much shorter. And so it's going to look like this on your screen. Now we're going to create a road along the bottom of this tile map. Okay, so this tile map is going to get overlaid on our background, and we're going to create the road to show up on the bottom of the screen. That's what our car is going to drive along as it's moving along this screen. So I'm going to select a tile. We're going to create one down here in the gallery. And notice that we have different tiles already included in MakeCode. So if we want a forest theme or an aquatic theme, forest theme might be good if you're making like an old Zelda type game where you're walking around in the fields. You have dungeons as well in that. But we're going to add in miscellaneous. And if you scroll across at the bottom using these arrows, you should find a bunch of road tile maps. They should look just like this with a road. And once you click on one of those, I'm going to click the one that's moving left to the left and to the right. And once you hover over your tile map in the pixel area, you should see that you can paint that. So I'm going to hold down on my mouse button and just drag it all the way across the bottom so that we have this nice road all the way across the bottom. Right, so yours should look something like that when you've got it finished. And so we're not just racing across the screen because we're not going to be able to control the speed a whole lot in this basic 2D game. We're going to have some obstacles that we want our car to jump across. Maybe we've got some pits that they can jump across as they're driving along the road. You can add some others later on, but I'm going to give you the basics of that as we go along. Maybe some hot lava. My kids have enjoyed playing Minecraft as well, and so we get plenty of lava references as they're playing Minecraft. So I'm going to go back to the gallery down here, and let's see if I can find some lava tile maps. Not in the dungeon. Do we have any in miscellaneous? Looks like something that looks like lava in the miscellaneous, this red and yellow. And so what I'm going to do is place some of these at the bottom at different points in our game. Now, just so that you know, there's just some, because I've done this before, you don't want more than 3 of these in a row. 3 is your max because that's as far as your vehicle is going to be able to jump. And so make sure that you don't put more than 3 in a row, but spread some lava, or if you find something else that you like, some spikes or any of the other things that you see that might look good for your game, go ahead and add those to the bottom along the road. And so think of this this racing game. If you've ever, like, you're not connected to the internet and you've opened up Google Chrome and you have this dinosaur scrolling across the screen, jumping over cactus or cacti, then you will recognize this type of game. This is what we're going to do with our car driving across the bottom of the screen for our MakeCode game. And now we're going to create a finish line at the end of our game. So something over here on the edge that lets us know that we've reached the end of our game. So you can end up later on making this much, much wider if you want a game that lasts much longer, but I'm going to choose a tile from the gallery. Again, this can be anything that you want it to be for your game, but I'm going to find something that looks like a finish line for my game. And I might take this green flag looking type thing. It's in miscellaneous. It's on the second circle at the bottom. And I'm going to drag that just to make this green final area of the game similar to the old Mario games when you would get to the end and that flag is kind of setting up there at the top of the flagpole and you have to hit the flagpole. This is going to be similar to that at the end of this game. Okay, so once you have some obstacles, once you have the road, and once you have the finish line, we are going to click done, see what that looks like on our game. Okay, now we see the road at the bottom of my arcade area on the game. Notice you don't see all of it. So I don't even see my first set of lava blocks because they are a little bit farther out on my tile map. So all I'm seeing is just this very start portion of our game. And as we'll see in just a moment, as the car goes along, the rest of the game will slide into view as you're moving across the screen. All right. So lastly, we're going to go back to our tile map one more time. The tile map is where we're going to spend a lot of our time on this game. Actually, MakeCode will handle a lot of things based on what we put into the tile map. So we're going to add walls on the road for our car to drive on. All right, and we'll see what that looks like in just, so click tile map. And see this one that shows just to the right of the tile that I've chosen. It looks like it's got like a sort of a shape. It's like maybe a square with something else next to it, a cube with something else next to it. We need to draw along the road tiles with this wall. So this is really what's going to tell our game we're designing where our car can drive safely. And if it hits anything on the bottom that's not something that we've selected with our wall, then it will crash and not make it. It's just as if we hit the cactus. So make sure you hit all of the road, and they should all kind of turn red. Don't worry, it won't show up red in your game. This is just to let us know in the background that something is happening. So maybe later on, if you were going to create maybe some built-in Easter eggs or something on the game, maybe you could add this first lava field that the person could drive over, and if they did that, then they would get something special. That's what coders think about and programmers think about when they're designing games. If I was going to create some sort of Easter egg, how can I make it fit into the rest of the game and make it fun and make it something that people talk about once they get it? That they would do something like this. Then I'm going to click done. All right, so we've set all of our tile map up just by clicking this gray square inside of set tile map 2. All right, so not all of the course is going to appear. We are going to create the race car next. All right, so we are going to go to the sprites and set my sprite block that we've used in the past underneath of the set tile map. I'm going to click on this gray square and go to gallery this time. So we're not going to draw our own car. We're going to select one from the gallery, and then I'm going to scroll down and find a car from the gallery. Notice there's sharks as well. So if you wanted to create something later on that's maybe a shark swimming around in the ocean, you can do that. But I'm going to choose a car. I'm going to choose maybe this red car that's pointed to the right, because our vehicle is going to drive to the right across the screen. I'm going to click done. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some gravity to our car. We want our car to stay along the bottom of the game the entire time, instead of staying right up in the middle or moving around just as we click up and down. We don't want it to drive up in the sky. We want it, well, we'd like for cars to be able to drive up in the sky. We're not going to have it drive up in the sky on this game. We're going to make it stay down near the road, and we're going to add some gravity to that. So from the sprites toolbox drawer, drag a set my sprite X to 0 underneath of that. And just some housekeeping, I want to make sure that I rename this like we did last week. So I'm going to rename the my sprite variable to, you can call it my car or car, just so that if we see something later on, we know exactly what this variable means. Remember, variables are for our reference. The computer does not care what we call things, but it's for ours or somebody else looking at our game later on. We want to make sure it's easy to, we want to be aware of others looking at our code later on. All right, so where this says X, I'm going to change this to acceleration Y. AY, acceleration Y. And I'm going to set this to 400. All right, so our car should have fallen down. It should be kind of setting on top of the road a little bit as we look at this. So remember that, not remember. So gravity is an acceleration force. So that means that as you start to fall, you're actually picking up more speed as you're falling down. That's what acceleration means. That means to not only am I moving at a constant speed, but as I'm going, I'm accelerating. I'm getting faster as I move along. That's what gravity does for us. And the Y direction is up and down. X is left and right. Y is up and down. In any of our games, whenever we're talking about XY coordinates, Y is going to be the direction that we want gravity to impact us on. And so that's what we're doing here. We are creating an acceleration in the Y direction of 400. So let's add some code. Remember in the dinosaur game, if you've ever played it in Chrome, the dinosaur is just running across by itself anyway. And that's what we're going to make our car do. Just start driving along, and then we're going to make them jump at certain points of our game. So this time we're going to bring over another sprite, set my sprite X underneath of this, the one that we just changed, the acceleration. We want to change my sprite to my car. And we are going to put our VX, so velocity in the X direction. And we're going to set this to 100. So velocity means that we're going to stay at the same speed the entire time we're moving across the screen. All right, and once you did that, once your game reset, you should see your car drive off across the screen. And we're not going to do like we did the last few games. The last 2 weeks, we ended up telling our sprite that they couldn't go outside the bounds of the game. For this one, we're actually going to change the camera on our game so that it follows our character the entire time. We want the camera that our user, think of the camera in video games as what our user is seeing when they're playing. So the camera is sort of your view into a video game. And this works for more advanced video games, and it works for these quick games that we're making on MakeCode as well. We want to change the camera. So that's in scene. Should be able to scroll down, collisions, camera. It says camera follow sprite. So I'm going to drag that over, put that underneath of my velocity in the X direction. I'm going to change this to my car. Once you do that, let's let our game reset here. You should see your character, your car driving, and if it's anything like my tile map that you've created, you're falling in lava right away, and you can't drive any further. So next we're going to give our character the ability to jump so that they can make it over these lava pits that we've created, or spike pits if you've made those. We're going to do that with the A button on our controller. So the way that we do that is go to our controller toolbox, and it says on A button pressed. Now remember, this doesn't have the puzzle pieces, the click ends on the outside of this. This is really smooth on the outside. That's sort of our indicator that we can just drag this over and place it anywhere. And so technically this is called an event listener. It's listening. This section of code is listening for this event on A button press to happen. And when it happens, we're going to run whatever code we have inside of the block. So we want the car to be able to jump when our car's on the road, not in the air. So we're going to make sure that we're going to check to see if our car's on the road before we jump. If not, you could jump and then jump again while you're in the air, and then jump again while you're in the air, and keep getting to the top of the screen. And so we're not going to make a game that lets us do that. So we're going to go to logic, and we're going to drag an if then block. So this is called a conditional. You may have used these in other programming languages before, but if this thing is true, then I'm going to run the code inside of this. So this is a little bit different than some people maybe get confused on how is this different from this event listener. So this event listener, let's think of this as it's sort of registered, and it's not really running in a forever loop. So don't think of it as that, but it almost, I sometimes liken it to that, because this event listener is just sitting here waiting for something to happen. It's more of a wait and see. This if true then will only happen one time whenever we do that. So this can't really sit here and live by itself. You notice that it's all yellowed out. Once that's the case, this needs to be inside of something else. We can't just have if statements sitting around all over our game. So if true then, we're going to go to scene. We're going to scroll down. We're going to find one that says, is my sprite hitting wall left? And this is down in collision. And I'm going to put this inside of the true block. As soon as I hover over true, the red circle should show up. And we have this. We need to change my sprite to my car. And if it's hitting the wall on the bottom. Now don't think of walls as the walls in your house. These aren't going to be things standing up. This is what we drew on the tile map earlier. Remember when we made it red down on the road? It's called a wall when we're programming. And so this wall is at the bottom. Then we go from sprites, where it says set my sprite X to 0. Put that inside of the if statement. So on A button pressed, change my sprite to my car. And we're going to do a velocity Y. We're going to do this to minus 200. So the reason we're doing velocity Y and not acceleration Y in this particular case is typically when we jump with a constant speed that goes up. It's not like we're increasing speed as we jump up into the air. I know that I'm definitely not increasing in speed as I'm jumping into the air. And so we're just going to use it at velocity in this case. I don't know that it would make much of a difference, and you can try that on your own if we change this to an acceleration, but we're going to do velocity in the Y direction of minus 200. So when our car runs into an obstacle, we're going to lose the game, but let's make sure that we can actually jump first. So now you should hit the A button, and your vehicle should be jumping up into the air and falling back down if you want. And actually, minus 200 may be too much of a jump for us. It's actually too easy for my game. So you can adjust that as it makes sense for your game, as it makes sense for your tile map. You're the programmer. You get to control what happens in these. See if minus 125 works. Oh, gotta do it quicker than that. Oh. Okay, so that actually is much better. It makes it a little bit more difficult on those 3 lava blocks right in a row. So we want to have something happen when our car runs into one of those obstacles with the lava. We're going to lose the game. And so when our car hits the finish line, we're going to win the game. And we're going to add those 2 things now. So we're going to use those sprite overlaps that we've used the last few weeks. And I'm going to drag 2 of those out. So those are in the scene. Scroll down. See. On sprite of kind over, there we go. This is in scene. It says on sprite of kind player overlaps, and it has this checkered at location. I want to drag 2 of these out here because I'm going to use 2 of those. So I might as well go ahead and grab them while I'm here. It's not going to like them because they're both the same right now, and so it's saying you can't have duplicate code on the screen. But once we start making some changes, it will be fine. So on the first one, click on the checkered square where it says overlaps, and it should bring up the tiles that you've included in your tile map, which is actually pretty handy that we have all of those set into place right now. So I'm going to click on the lava one. Notice the other one frees up right away because now they're different. We have a duplicated code on our screen, and we can fix the second one. On the second one, I want to set that up on the checkered finish line. So on sprite of kind player, remember our car is kind player. We changed it up here. If a sprite of kind player overlaps lava, this thing is going to happen. If the sprite of kind player overlaps the finish line, this code is going to happen. This listener is going to get executed. From the game toolbox set, we're going to find game over, and we're going to drag 2 of those out. So if we overlap the lava, we're going to lose. If we overlap the finish line, we are going to win. You can change that to win by clicking it. Okay, so now try your game, and I didn't get to the controls quickly enough. I think A actually corresponds to the space bar as well. So yes, you can click on the space bar if you're using a computer and do that as well. But the game over actually worked. Did you see that? I actually lost on the game over. And I made it to the end. So something you could add to this is maybe we have a timer and see who can make it the quickest. But honestly, our car is moving the same speed each time. And so really, it would be interesting to make several levels on this game and to have some different challenges for our car to see if the player could get through all of them successfully without losing the game. So do we have any questions as we're wrapping up here? If you do, you can go ahead and post those in the comments as we're moving along. This is our finished 2D scrolling racing game in preparation for the Indy 500. If you have any questions, you can comment on this, or if you're watching this later on YouTube or on our Facebook page, you can add comments there. We'll respond to those on there as well. If you let us know if you're having trouble with a certain portion of this, we will follow up with you and make sure that you get what you need to be able to succeed in this. But hopefully this was helpful. This was fun. It's a different kind of game, and Microsoft MakeCode is really good about, like, we just have, that's all of our code to make a racing game move across the screen with our car driving across the screen and finishing up like that. So it's a pretty handy tool. I'm glad to learn more about it as well as I'm going through these. It's helping me to learn just like you guys. And yeah, it's been fun. Been fun for me as well. So remember, next week we are going to do a giveaway. We have a BrainPad arcade. You can actually, it's a model similar to what you see on your screen, but it's a little circuit that has a screen, and it will let you play the games directly from this BrainPad. Just put some batteries in it. You can download your games directly and play them on that. So for those of you that are joining in on the live stream next week, we're going to do try to have a giveaway. I think the software here is going to handle that for us and make sure that that works and as fair as possible. So join in next week. Let your friends know. If we're going to continue these throughout the summer, so if you are having if you're not going to school during the summer and you want to check out some more coding and try some more things, jump on every Thursday at 3. If you subscribe to our channel below on YouTube, click on that notification tab. We will you should get notified when we're about to go live. Same thing as Facebook. If you follow our page, you'll get a notification when we're getting ready to go live. So thank you guys for joining in. Hope you enjoyed this and look forward to seeing what you create. Thanks. Bye.